I love Jeremy Clarkson and his I cocked up my A-level post every year. I did brilliantly at GCSEs, so I got this licked, went and did my A-levels, mucked them all up. I was going to go and be a lawyer, that all went out the window.
I wanted to be an architect and I saw that was 7 years and I was like, can't do that.
Hello, my name's Penny Taylor. I'm HR Director at Compare the Market. We have 800 colleagues across the UK and France, and this is my Duvet flip.
You have a lot of resilience. Where's the resilience come from?
My parents fostered children with disabilities. One of those babies sadly passed away. It was the worst thing that could have happened in my life at that time. So my feeling in life is, what's the worst that can happen?
I love that mindset. Anything could be done, let's give it a go. How do you make sure that you're being fair to everyone?
It's not in the have we got multicoloured food for Pride Day, which we do by the way. Inclusivity is actually in the small moments where HR shows up the best, is where you get someone that you don't like and you do the right thing anyway.
What's your duvet flip? What gets you out of bed in the morning to flip the duvet?
What gets me out of bed in the morning is hello, my name's Penny Taylor. I'm HR Director at Compare the Market. I'm feeling fine actually before I see Jack. I think it's pretty good fun. I think I'm most excited to talk about inclusion at Compare the Market. I said yes to coming on Duvet Flip because I passionately believe that young people are our future and therefore we need to try and help in any way we can. I've never met Jack before, so I'm quite excited about what he's going to ask me. Most people have very zigzag careers. It doesn't have to be a defined, well-trodden path. Hi Jack, on this beautiful sunny day.
Welcome to my duvet flip, Penny. How are we?
Yeah, I'm really good, thank you.
I'm excited to hear about your career and how you've become HR director, but I always start here. First job. Tell me a little bit about your first job. What was you doing? How did that what did you learn on that job?
So I was what they call a floater, which I think is the worst title in the world, in a department store in Cambridge called Eden Lily, which was much loved if you live in Cambridge. And I had to turn up in any department wherever they needed me, and which was anything from being on the till to dresses to anything. It didn't really matter. I had to turn up and do that job for the day. And I loved it. And the customers I remembered and talked to them each week and said, how did you get on with your chocolates last week, that kind of thing. But really, really loved it. Just Saturday girl.
So being a floater actually can be a superpower, right? Because you got the opportunity to actually experience all the kind of different parts of the business.
Totally. Totally. Everything from customer service to trying to get as many customers through as quickly as possible during peak times to stocking the stock. I mean, it was just the first time I've ever earned money, and you know, it allowed me to have the freedom to go out to the pub at the weekend. I live rurally, so I needed taxi money. It just gave me a lot of confidence.
And what would you say to anyone going into their first job? It's quite daunting, isn't it? You can go into your first job and you don't really understand what it all means. What's your advice to the next generation when it comes to anyone who's starting their first job this week, next month, or whoever's listening in? What's your advice?
Don't worry about what the job is. So I think people overthink it. They think there has to be something worthy or something super impressive on their CV. I was just saying a little bit earlier that the thing I love most seeing on a CV is someone who's done pot wash, because I think, well, you've done a difficult job, you've stuck at it. So my view is anyone that's been in a restaurant job or had to deal with customers, you pretty much can handle most things, because customers can be quite bonkers at times, can't they? So I think if you're able to have that stretch as a person, then go for it, do anything, be in the local pub, be in the pot wash, doesn't matter, just do something, because the thing about jobs is as soon as you've got one, it's easier to get another one. So just get something.
So get something, give it a go,
Yeah.
roll up your sleeves, do the job, and then that will help you get the next one.
Totally, totally, and don't be afraid to put it on your CV.
Do you think people are afraid to put a job like working in a restaurant or a supermarket on their CV?
Sometimes, yeah, especially if they've graduated since and they've gone on to something else. They think, well, you know, are they really interested in that? And yes, we are. Absolutely we are. I think it just shows you've got stretch, staying power. It shows that you've got commitment, and I think that's really important.
I think that's a great reflection and a great piece of advice. Don't have any shame. put it on your CV,
Yeah.
be proud of it, talk about it, right?
Yeah, totally. And there's, like when you have those questions where you get to an interview and someone says, tell me about a time when, well, anyone that's worked in a restaurant can tell about a time when there's a customer that's been awkward, awful, lovely, where you've gone the extra mile. You can stretch that into so many examples. And quite often I'm the one asking a question of, well, tell me about a time when something went wrong. Tell me about a time when someone was difficult. Tell me about a time where you turned around someone's view of you. You can do all of that with restaurant work or with shop work. You've seen it all.
You talked a little bit about going the extra mile. What does that tangibly mean in the workplace for someone to go the extra mile? And how do you keep that? I remember when I went into one of my first jobs, I was all run. I burnt out too quickly, and then people asking what's wrong with Jack, because I always wanted to go the extra mile. So how do you find that balance? How do you go the extra mile, but how do you not try and be a superhero at the same time?
It's a really, really good reflection, actually. When I did one of my first jobs, I was a regional manager of some shops, and what they were saying was, oh, well, you need to get cross-sell right, and you need to get customer service right, you need to get the profit right, and there were so many things. And I can remember phoning up one of my colleagues, and he was saying, oh, no, we don't do all that. We don't do all that. We filter. So I think one of the things you need to learn when you first do your first job is, how do I filter what's important? Because actually that's a skill in itself. The second thing is, going the extra mile can be behavioural. It doesn't necessarily have to be, I'm not interested in the person still sat there at 8 o'clock at night, because I think, well, you're not very efficient. So I think it's around, how can I be thoughtful? How can I be kind to other people? How can I watch out for a colleague that's struggling? Sometimes I think going the extra mile is just really thinking about other people, thinking about, what does the business really need now? Where shall I focus my time? That's important.
And how important is being reliable? We've literally just changed one of our values to be super reliable.
Yeah.
Like I think that if you've got no skill, if you're not good at AI or tech or anything, the one thing that you should be good at is being reliable, saying what you're going to do. What do you think about being reliable, and how do you showcase that in an interview?
So I think you can showcase that through doing your kind of less exciting jobs. You've turned up, you showed up, you've done it for a period of time. Especially when you start, sometimes in a restaurant, if you're the one that's then training someone else, you can talk about the fact that, oh, I started, I was a bit rubbish, but now I'm good, I can show everybody else. So I think that's important. But reliability, I think it's not necessarily reliability in terms of I show up every day. It's more consistency. I'm consistent. I consistently try and do the right thing. I consistently show up. I consistently support my colleagues. So I think it's more that for me.
So you did this weekend job.
Yeah.
You was a floater, and awful title, but lots of learning.
Yeah.
It's to obviously earn a bit of money. You was in a rural area, paid for the taxi. Like, what was your motivation next? Like, the world is a big place.
Yeah.
There's so many different pathways you could go into. Where did you go and why?
Well, it was not the plan. So I love Jeremy Clarkson and his I cocked up my A-level post every year, because I mucked up my A-levels. I did brilliantly at GCSEs, so I got this licked, went and did my A-levels, mucked them all up. So I was going to go and be a lawyer. That all went out the window. So I then had to go and do a year off. I worked abroad. I worked as a teacher abroad for a year. I also worked as a rep abroad. And I also worked as a nanny. I had about 4 jobs during that year. And the motivation, I think, was I needed money. I wanted to try and really experience lots of different things. I really wanted to, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I think, you quite often see people like, oh, I've known I've wanted to be a doctor since the age of 8. I don't think many young people actually know what they want to do.
I agree.
And I think it's okay to go into something and think, that's not for me. So I started on the Thomas Cook graduate scheme after university, and I worked in insurance, never paraglide. I worked in customer services where people were just nasty to me 24 hours a day. So I'm really calm now if anyone's really nasty to me, because I've done it. And then one day the CEO walked past my desk and he said, how do you fancy being a regional manager? And then literally the Monday after, I was in a car looking after 30 shops with like 30 people in each shop. and I was properly bad at it. But I think the point is that if you're always learning, it doesn't matter, because all of those jobs, I took something to the next one. And actually I found out in the end that what I really wanted to do was HR, because when I was a regional manager, there were so many employment issues. You just do, when you have that many people, and people are naughty and people do all sorts of silly things. You end up with a lot of employment issues. So out of the back of that, I thought that's the bit that I really enjoy. But it took me about 4 jobs to get there.
And every time, did you feel like you had failed or learnt something? How did you build that mindset to keep going? Because you wanted to be a lawyer, and I wanted to be an architect, and I saw that for 7 years, and I was like, can't do that, and I'm not the smartest person or intelligent in the room. But you know what? It made me stop a minute and go, have I failed? You have a lot of resilience. And I can see that you've, in your experience, you've had obviously nastiness around it. That's the first thing I came to my head when I walked into the room. Penny's kind, the way you were with me. But where's the resilience come from?
When I was 13, my parents fostered children with disabilities, and also they fostered babies that were waiting to go into permanent adoption. And one of those babies sadly passed away. And it was the worst thing that could have happened in my life, because she'd been with us a year. Because it was a foster sister, I wasn't allowed to go to the funeral. I had no chance to grieve. I was back at school the next day. And it was the worst thing that could have happened in my life at that time. And actually, if you look at a lot of people, some of the motivation, I think, comes from, well, nothing can ever be that bad again. So my feeling in life is, what's the worst that can happen, really? I mean, really, what's the worst that's going to happen? So I kind of go in with a mindset of anything's possible, anything can be done. And it usually works. Well, it's worked for me anyway.
And that, I love that mindset. And that you have that mindset of anything could be done, let's give it a go kind of thing.
Yeah.
Do you think that's helped you build a successful career?
Definitely. Definitely. I think one of the pieces of advice I'd give young people is seek out the difficult stuff that nobody else wants to do. You know, like the project that everyone's going, I don't really want to do that. They'll all off be doing some crafty project that looks good, or go and find the one that's going to make real commercial advantage or really make a difference, or frankly that just everyone's left because it's too difficult. Go and solve that, and then weirdly your confidence grows because you think, oh, I did that and that was all right. And usually you have air cover, don't you, from the organisation, because the organisation want you to win. Nobody wants any of their employees not to win. We all want our employees to win. If my team win, I win. It's all good. So therefore, my feeling is, go and solve something hard, get that air cover, and then you can say, look what I've done, and you start to build little bits of confidence on little bits of confidence.
I love that. There's a number of projects on the table. 2 look really shiny. Pick the one that's not quite shiny,
Yeah.
and give it a go.
Yeah.
So I want to talk a little bit about your current title is HR director. What is an HR director? Like what does it do?
I think there's what you think HR does, which is, I think they all think we do tea and tissues, toilet tea and tissues. And there's what we actually do. And what we actually do is we try and drive profit for the organisation whilst keeping our employees engaged and motivated. So it can be everything from making sure the headcount is right, the people are in the right places, our talent is motivated and has a career path. It can be performance managing, so that we have a really high performance culture. That's really important to us, that we help people get better at what they're doing. It's also about reshaping as the organisation gets bigger, because the trouble with organisations that are growing fast like we are is that sometimes you have to, change, pivot. I think every HR director at the moment will tell you that AI is cantering down the tracks, and it's here already, and that therefore we are having to reshape as a result of that, which means as well making sure that people whose roles can be augmented or changed, that we take those colleagues with us where we can. So it can be anything. It's really, really wide. I find reward fascinating. just how you pay people, what you pay them, how you make up the package, particularly at the senior end. That's really interesting. But also, how do we make sure that we are looking after our employees through the entire employee life cycle? So I could come out to you with some sort of headline grabbing LinkedIn post on, I'm going to make it up, but unlimited annual leave. That doesn't interest me. So what I'm interested in is that I'm looking after my colleagues from the moment they start right the way through. So I've got something for them at every step, and it's good at every step. So it's not one headline grabbing thing and everything else is slightly rubbish. I want good at every stage.
And what does looking after them mean to you?
Well, one of the great privileges in HR is you can do some massive kindnesses as well, and nobody knows about them because we can't go, oh, we did this for so-and-so, because it's confidential to that person. But it can be really supporting someone when they're at their lowest ebb with their mental health. It can be a greatest privilege of looking after someone as they're dying. We've put stuff into people's houses that are dying, and it's just all those little bits of kindness that you can sow into someone's, and that's what gives you motivated, engaged employees, because, you know, they don't need to be grateful, but they are very grateful, because you are able to be there at kind of their lowest ebb. So that's the brilliance of HR. It's the massive variety. I mean, you have everything, and it's just by dint of having so many employees that the statistics of it say that you're going to get one of these, one of these, and one of these, and you do, and that's the absolute brilliance of HR. Unless you're in it and experience it, you cannot see what a fantastic career it is. It really is.
And how do you keep it inclusive and fair and honest at the same time? Because you can go into an HR department and they can go, computer says no.
Yeah.
But what you're saying, yet again, extra mile, look after people, be the kindness. Like, how do you make sure that you're being fair and inclusive to everyone?
I think inclusivity is actually in the small moments. You're absolutely right. It's not in the, have we got multicoloured food for Pride Day, which we do, by the way. We do all those things, but it's, for me, it's, do you see someone senior who is has a protected characteristic and therefore, oh, I can be like them? And when you are making decisions about people and using your common sense, knowing when to completely break the rules because it's just the right thing to do, and we do that a lot. And then also when you have to be a bit computer says no and be consistent. But also, actually, I think where HR shows up the best is where you get someone that you don't like and actually you do the right thing anyway. I've been in meetings where, you know, you don't have to do the right thing, but you just do because it is just the right thing to do. So I think you just have to have a very strong moral compass, and that it does get tested in HR because you're doing the nice stuff, but you're also doing the not so nice stuff in terms of sometimes exiting people, that kind of thing. But trying at least to deal with the person as a human being, and be fair.
So be fair, use your common sense, and have that moral ground.
Yeah, have a very strong kind of sense of what's fair and what's right.
And how do you then separate from the good and the bad?
Well, if I'm honest, you don't always know you've got it right. So I think anyone would be lying if they said that you always got it right. But the point is you absolutely try, and that you take counsel from others, because sometimes, you know, there are usually 4 ways you can skin a rabbit in HR, and quite often my colleagues will do something different from me. It doesn't matter. The point is we usually get to the same outcome. You have to do something that feels authentic to you and, you know, it feels right with your values. If you're doing that, you usually aren't far wrong, but also check with a colleague and say, am I being too nice? Am I being too harsh? Am I, you know, and usually they'll give you a good counterbalance to what you're thinking.
So Penny, I want to talk a bit about money. And with the brilliant Compare the Market, we've put together 2 money questions because we want people to start thinking about money and thinking about their money. So my first question is, what is your biggest money regret and why?
I think if I'm honest, choosing to work in a low margin industry, so my first job was in travel. So like every time that they change a benefit, they change it for the worse, and you're always on the wrong side of that benefit changing. It was all a bit like that for a while. So, and nobody had any money, and they were talking about, do we take away the tea bags for the staff in the shops and that kind of thing. And I just thought,
Don't take away the tea bags.
Well, yeah. So actually, I think about how much margin the company is that you're working for, because it will give you a good indication about whether there's job security, that kind of thing.
Wow. And my next question is, what is your Simple's money tip to your 18-year-old self?
Right, I'm going to talk about the pension pay gap for women. So we know that if you compare the market, you can save lots of money on your normal insurances. But I want to talk about pensions, because I put in loads into my pension ever since I was very young. Start the earliest you humanly can, put as much in as you humanly can, and if you think that's as much as you can put in, put a bit more in. But what actually happens is you then have a baby at some point, and then you probably go part-time for a bit afterwards, and then you probably have another baby, and you probably go for a part-time for a bit after that. And most people, they save up for their maternity leave because they think, oh, well, then I can go out to the cafe, can't I, at lunch? That would be nice, or whatever. And actually, what you should be thinking is, I'm going to save a bit more and put it into my pension, because actually, even though my husband saved exactly the same amount all the way through, he has a substantially larger pension pot than me, and it's the pension pay gap for women. So I'm really passionate about getting as many of our colleagues to put as much as possible into the pension, as early as possible into their pension. Put extra in when you get a bonus, just keep it going in. And you'll think, how boring, I don't need to worry about that, I'm going to be old. But the more you put in now, you'll thank me for it, I promise you.
Absolutely. And anyone can Google the pension pay gap to just look at it and what it means.
Yes, and it's stock. So if you talk to anyone that works for a pension fund, they'll tell you the same.
Wow. Well, thank you for your Simple's money tip. And what makes a good HR professional? If someone wanted to get into the industry and get into your department, and want to become an HR director in the future, what are the things that you'd say these are the musts?
Very strong commerciality, very strong understanding of what the levers are in an organisation that make it profitable. That's actually our job, because I strongly believe my job is to make the organisation as profitable as possible, because it gives more people more jobs, and it also gives the people who are there a better job. So I don't think that's a wrong thing. I think it's actually a right thing. So commerciality, definitely. You have to have warmth and kindness, because sometimes people are reaching out to you when, the worst thing has happened to them, and you have to carry around knowing some things about people that, are, very sad or whatever. So I think warmth and kindness, and massive, massive resilience, because you're having to pivot from, quite difficult conversations to quite nice conversations, within a day.
Moment,
So I think it's not necessarily. I think if someone doesn't feel anything at the end of a difficult day in HR, then you're in the wrong job. So sometimes, you do need to go home and, debrief in a confidential way, but you do need to debrief. But actually, it's that variety that makes it a really exciting profession.
And where is AI kind of coming in? How is it enabling the department?
Oh, so many ways. I can't tell you. I'm a massive convert. I use it all day, every day. From just really silly things like we used to have to, like when someone says, "Oh, can you write a job description for?" And it was always some tech stack skill or something. But now you can. We've trained a GPT within our department. We've trained it on all of our formatting. It tells us, we put it in. It tells us the job description, and then we have a ring-fenced area of AI that allows us to put slightly more sensitive, nothing that's going to go back up. In there, which allows us to do everything from letters to all sorts of stuff. We have chatbots that answer employee queries that are getting better and better and better. So we use it everywhere. Analytics, very analytical with it. I absolutely love it. And I think the thing to think about it, I think a lot of people feel very threatened by AI. And I think to some extent that's right. But fear's good, isn't it? Fear's motivating.
Yeah.
But actually for our colleagues, we see it slightly differently. We see, of course, some roles will change and evolve, but actually a lot of roles can be augmented. So actually it's how do we get you better, faster and doing stuff that you really love. So we are very passionate about it as an organisation and really investing in it, but it's because we see the opportunity it brings.
It's dark, it's gloomy, it's raining, the car's broken down. Why do you still walk through the door of Compare the Market?
I love the brand. I absolutely love my colleagues. I have the most fantastic team and I work with the most fantastic team. That's really motivating. And I think finally there's so much to do. So actually you can kind of get up every day and think, oh, I've got something else to achieve, another hill to climb. That is really motivating. So that gets me out of bed. And my dog.
You can see I'm a dog fan. Got some ornaments. And what do you think has been your invisible success across your career that's made you successful? That you can't see online, you can't find on a CV?
I always pick myself up and go again. So, you know, I can remember I put the wrong people. I'd never do this now as an HR director, by the way, but as a very junior HR person, there was people on this bus are going to be put at risk, people on that, wasn't a Compare the Market, people on that bus won't be. And I put some people on the wrong bus. And I was dressed down afterwards and told off and all the rest of it, and it was awful. And I just thought, oh, I'm done here and all the rest of it. And I had done my due diligence, I had done my job properly, these people had just moved, so it wasn't that I'd done anything wrong, but anyway, so I said, well, I take responsibility for it, it's my fault. But every time, and that's a really minor thing, there'll be loads of other things I could give you examples of where you've done something wrong. The point is that I think, right, I'm going to show you. And I pick myself up and I go again. And I think actually the picking yourself up and going again is actually quite hard. But actually you have to have a bit of steel that says, I'll show you. So
the resilience part, right?
Yeah.
Because there is things every day that will come running at you. And you're just like, sometimes you think, what is the point? But then this inner side you, yet again, having your debrief and reflecting, you come back and you go, no, I know why I started this career. I know why I do what I do. I need to continue. And some people will support, some won't. You won't please everyone, but you can't. But you have to move forward, right?
Yeah, totally.
Are you ready for my final question?
Go on.
What's your duvet flip? What gets you out of bed in the morning to flip the duvet?
What gets me out of bed in the morning is a wonderful company, wonderful colleagues, and a wonderful team.
Well, I just want to say, Penny, thank you for spending some time with me. I was a bit moody today, but you've really put a smile on my face with your kindness and sharing your story and sharing a little bit about what kind of happens under the bonnet in HR and why inclusion is so important. So thank you.
Thank you.